Welcome to the Bioman Mycotoxin Prediction Update for September 22nd, 2020. I'm Tim Jenkins from the Digital Lab at Bioman Austria. This week, we look back at the weather conditions that helped shape this year's European corn harvest. Let's look at the risk levels in your part of Europe. The risk levels shown here are the chance that a crop from each of these broad areas is above the risk threshold for the most sensitive species of animals. For the common mycotoxins, fumonisins, fum, aflatoxins, afla, deoxynivalenol, don, and zearalenone, zen, in corn. Within each region, there can be a large variation, but the general trends are higher levels of afla and fum predicted in warmer southern regions, and that overall DON is the mycotoxin most commonly exceeding the risk threshold, at which level it could start to increase an animal's susceptibility to disease and other stresses. Rainfall during silking or flowering of corn increases the risk for all four mycotoxins, because the silks provide a convenient entry for mycotoxin-producing fungi to reach the developing grains. Rainy days in the lead up to harvest are also a risk factor, as they can delay harvest, providing more opportunity for the fungi to grow and produce mycotoxins, as well as promoting new infections on damaged grains. Early July was silking time in the generally more southern areas of Europe. Here we see the number of rain days out of these 15 days. A rain day had at least 3 hours of rain or high humidity conditions, enough to allow germination and infection by fungal spores. The areas silking at this time, with rainfall coinciding, broadly include eastern Spain, parts of northern and inland Italy, and areas of Greece and the southern Balkans, as well as northern or eastern Turkey. Any other areas in southern, eastern, and even Central Europe would have also had some risk from the rainfall occurring at this time. By late July, much of Europe got drier, but there was still a risk around the Alps area, spreading out further east into Czech Republic, Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, and inland Balkans. Romania and Moldova received even more rain days. For most areas, silking would have finished, or almost finished, by early August. Rain days may have caught some late crops in northern Spain, as well as northern Europe, both sides of the English Channel, and also in the Baltic countries and northern Poland. With many areas being reasonably dry and warm, there was generally good crop development and a somewhat reduced risk of new infections. But the higher temperatures than normal in some areas could have increased the production of mycotoxins, particularly aflatoxins and fumonisins. For late corn crops still silking in mid-August in England, Netherlands, and surrounding areas, there would have been a higher risk with the wetter conditions later in August. The generally wet conditions in much of Europe may have increased the mycotoxin risk, apart from the more southern areas, particularly because temperatures were also reasonably high compared to normal. Rain days were low in much of Europe in early September, apart from Scandinavian and Baltic areas, with just moderate numbers of rain days in parts of Germany and Poland down to Austria. Rain was also recorded in parts of Romania and Moldova, and also in northern Russia. Dry conditions would have assisted harvest in southern Europe, but the warmer temperatures may also have contributed to higher fum and other mycotoxin levels. Rain days in most of the areas still to harvest corn were moderate to high, thus potentially giving a late boost to mycotoxin levels, particularly because conditions were still generally warmer than normal for this time of year. Looking at the biome and mycotoxin prediction maps, the DON risk is high in much of European corn, and ZEN risk is mostly medium to medium high. Fum risk is generally greater in warmer, more southern regions, but is also higher than normal in some more northern areas with the warmer temperatures this summer. Risk of afla is even more restricted to the southern regions, with some quite high predicted risks in parts of Ukraine, Romania, Hungary, and some southern parts of Russia. Keep tuned in for our European mycotoxin prediction and occurrence updates as corn harvest continues in Europe.